Alright, I wanted to go ahead and do this video on, do a tarot reading. Anyways, them people here at 8704 Broadway, they open. You know, I was glad I was able to articulate a lot of things on my website. I had my little roach spirits getting attacked in the middle of the night. I know that. They had got hit and all of that. Anyways, I was happy to get back on my website, right? Because it allowed me to be able to articulate, much more accurately what's going on and just the pain and trauma that I feel with the weight of what I know about my situation. This isn't that soul swap actually happened. When you see stuff like I saw mom versus drug addiction, dad versus drug addiction out of their bodies, Brian, Kristen, and Carrie, fucking with them bags right now, fucking with me and the road spirits. Anyways, whenever you see that, and try fucking with my consciousness as well. Anytime you see that, that's a sign you ain't in your body. That's like incontrovertible. You can't dispute that. Your soul consciousness is a record of what's going on. It's like the Akashic records. It's the same thing. And I heard that the Iliad is actually something that exists for gods, regardless of if they come from African traditions, who were the starters of it. Ogun, for instance, begot Thorn away. He's part of the Brotherhood of Hammers and all of that. With that being said, I started thinking more and more, like, especially as I talked about something happened at the hands of those people. I saw two entity attachments of them. Thomas, the guy who I saw, heard in the spirit plane, has molested an 11-year-old girl. And the other one, the reader who I got a tarot reading from, Elsie or something, I heard that she came for anyways, with that being said, got another one, the one I showed you, who actually killed a young black woman for reporting a cousin for rape. Inez, I believe her name is. Anyways, with that being said, to make a long story short, from what I understand in the spirit plane, I'm in my spirit body. It happened gradually. And then before that, my astral body. And with that being said, it's a lot of trauma compounded on trauma, where I'm being pulled into Santa Muerte's hell realm, like I talk about. Her highest self, what was it, Santa Muerte, and her highest self, Maria Tavares of that Rita, were discussing stealing my and Baron Samley's ancestral money. From what I understand, and I saw it as well, it's just incontrovertible. It's the same thing I saw with my soul consciousness sticking out. When I first got soul swapped on April the 22nd, 2022, when it happened. Same was one of the entities there. With that being said, I was shown the timeline where she had made or something from that, and she's doing very, very well. And like I say, I've been seeing a lot of things that just in the spirit plane don't make a lot of sense. Not in the spirit plane, but like out here, just weird things like signs of death. I've even had people tell me you smell like a burnt dead body. I saw the Grim Reaper's reflection 2 weeks later, weird stuff going on when people would be at street lights and all of that, slumped in their car, like, how they say when people are in the astral as well as the physical, they'll be slumped at the light, not like asleep, but when you're awake in the physical plane, your body is asleep in the astral, something like that. Because your physical consciousness is taking the wheel. With that being said, that's what I saw. That's what I saw, 2 weeks after. And weird things like in the driver's seat of one car, one vehicle, I saw like a bed and all of that. And, from what I understand, that connoted to somebody living in Malibu. My timelines show weird things. In the astral plane, in the spirit, show weird things. My timelines are like squiggly lines and damn near, mere fucking lights. It was, it's the same thing, like with me and Soul Swap. When I first was, a lot of just weird variables that don't make any sense. Another thing I want to mention is, that's how I know my parents ain't alive in that timeline. I remember I was with Dan Aykroyd, who, from what I understand, he sells Voodoo Ranger or some shit. Actually, under Bear Insanity, kind of like this ancestor here, white dude, who looked like Keanu Reeves, very nice man. And I nearly got stuck in an astral vision like I did a couple of days ago with Maria Tavares. She almost caught me up. Make a long story short, my parents were active, and along with my brothers, Kristen, and Carrie and Brian. That's a sign that they weren't in their bodies. And a couple of days ago, I actually got a view of that when I saw, from what I understand, they got trapped in the Roach Motel Hell Realm, which I thought I pulled them out 2 weeks later after getting out of jail. I wish I would have used frequency back then. I would have tried to whoop their asses out like I did a couple of days ago when I had a major entity attachment get, captured and taken by Maria Tavares and them. I wish I would have done that a couple of days ago. And to make a long story short, I saw my dad being turned into a roach, and, I did rescue on him, where I brought him back, put him with ancestors. So that timeline is irrevocably real, And another one, he was down to, like, his soul consciousness, not even barely. She had been using with that being said, she had been using entity attachment, the Illuminati, to fuck them, and that's what I saw with them, with her and her ancestors in the spirit plane. It's a lot of evil shit going on, and I think they were from the physical allowed. Anyways, with that being said, it's a lot of trauma, and the last thing I need is this Santa Muerte bullshit. The problem with her is, as I explicate perfectly on my blog, her followers act as judge, jury, and executioner, and for shit, ever since May the 1st, 2024, I've, and especially now, I've been getting much more prodigiously and expeditiously pulled into a hell realm. And it's, becoming a lot more conspicuous. I remember that Maria Tavares, something had eviscerated my father when I rescued him, by the way. It's a lot of fucking trauma. And the shit, I've even had people reconnect me with them August the 22nd, 2022 timelines, along with the May the 1st, 2024 timelines, and that's incontrovertible. That's indisputable. Something happened, and it ain't good. And it's at the hands of them people. And I heard that they doing very well. They thriving with tarot readings and all of that. The tarot read, I got a tarot reading from, I believe her name is Elsie Serrano or something. She is a maid, did a couple of novellas going back to that timeline. You can use 694, 695 hertz to see. It's a lot of trauma. And I know, it's not even being a sacrifice. Through Bear Insanity, I actually had a dream about the devil last night. He was one of the ones to give me an opportunity to be on reality TV. He gave me some of my blessings. If it wasn't for him, he's one of the ones, that runs the hell realms, the material world in a way, which isn't a bad thing. It just is what it is. You know, it's nature, the duality of it. And, you know, the film Legend actually explains it perfectly. In order for you to have good, you have to have evil, and vice versa. It's the duality of things that makes up the material realm. You can't have perfection. I was even shown by Pazuzu one night that my Cometian, my Egyptian ancestors who came from something far greater would do, you know, do crazy shit, just induce that to feel, you know, because, you know, it's kind of like how they talk about biblical, you know, angels and all of that. They're not allowed to feel like humans. They just do as God tells them. So they don't know any better. They don't have knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with having autonomous knowledge. And from what I've seen as well, you know, we come from, it's a lot like the Men in Black film, like at the end where you see like us, you know, people in balls and all of that, you know, form from molecules. I've always believed that we're living inside of a giant and we can't see it, but it's so much fucking greater reality, and the provenance of existence is so much greater. With that being said, it's a lot to ponder. With that being said, you know, I wish, but I know I can, because the reality is too strong when you're dealing with soul swapping. That's why I don't need this Santa Muerte shit. You know, I'm like, she was fucking with me the other night and I was able to just blast that bitch right out. And with Maria Tavares, even though I had barely any spiritual protection, I was able to will myself right out. You know, I was told by them road spirits who were trying their best to help me out, and they were trying their best to come in that. I was able to will myself out. With that being said, that shit, I don't need that. You know, the problem is she don't have her own consciousness. She never existed. Like, I know he's got Aludumare, Aludun, Obatala, Ogun, who's my favorite to call on if you need to be rebuilt, etheric walls and all that spiritually. Obatala, Hossein is good. He's a medicine healer. All of it goes back to African Ifa, Palomayambe. I even have an African ancestor who looks a lot like my father, who is a Ifa practitioner, who's, you know, put me back together and all of that. He was doing that at the YMCA shelter and just everything, you know, all this shit. Anyways, with that being said, they're great. They're great for being put back. I'm sorry. You know, I'm going to say something right now. I don't know why black people try to, you know, thinking about this is because I was shown how it is to be crowned by Santa Muerte. That's the most evil, dark shit you can be under. I'm a MAGA hat wearer. I got a MAGA shirt, Trump supporter. Got to remind myself in the way of that guy Richie from Boston, but the original who got killed by the Illuminati. You can use 1248 hertz on him, but that works on any evil motherfucker. Works on Santa Muerte, but I know for her, 960 hertz, along with that can work on Maria Tavares. Energy vampires, that is the best frequency for energy vampires. 451 hertz don't work. All that, you know, it works on them along with 452 hertz to get your shit back from energy vampires, but not as good as 960 hertz. With that being said, they're There's nothing like black spirituality. Our ancestors, I was shown with the Cometians, Anubis, who's my favorite to call on, who's helped me out a lot. They're the forerunners who created our universe. Ra. Our medicine people, our gods, Abatala, all of that. We were literally the first humans, which is why we're called monkeys. From what I understand, we mixed a little with the reptilians and all of that. But we're the original humans. And not only that, we come direct from the demiurge who rules everybody else, Yoda Baal. God himself. We were literally made in his image. Hair of wool, skin of bronze. Meanwhile, the Mexicans and all of that were deliberately placed under white people by having a demiurge by the name of Quetzalcoatl, who only gave them and put into them the primordial darkness. That's why they're under direct Satan and Zenu, who rules the primordial darkness, and another dark god, I forgot who's like his name is spelled Lovecraft style, like some shit. I don't even want to say it because I know something bad about that. With that being said, theirs would shapeshift into a white man. And from what I understand, the spirit plane is kind of like, man, anytime you have a white god you're under, that's a sign of a curse. That's why them motherfuckers, I get a cursed energy off of them. And an energy, vampire energy, to alleviate that, I saw that, like, with these motherfuckers. Who stole a lot of my shit. And I think it was one of them that was boasting back in 2016. That's when I started losing my teeth, right when the curse took effect in 2016. That's when the curse took effect. And I had a lot of my blessings, from what I understand, stolen by them. Their timelines began in what they call the Pacific Palisades. Person stole my body. Radio City Music Hall. She was supposed to hail from Atchafalaya Bay, Destrehan, Louisiana, or something. I think her name was Renee Wellinger. Or Ashley Terrell. That's what my fault and entity attachment of him with his soul consciousness. That's how I know this shit is real. Was telling me. With that being said, I'm trying to remember. It's some evil shit. I remember when I had a dream, an astral vision, I call it, of people arriving in motorboats from Destrehan, Louisiana. I thought coming to save me due to this curse. And the girl's code name was Rosie. I plan to put the video showing when she was starting to take possession of my soul. And there was another one, but I can't find it, where I was walking and I saw leaves, and I can't even find it on my blog. It's too much weird shit. Like, I'm going to preface this by saying your timelines start from within. That's why in the butterfly effect, your boy was able to change timelines and jump from timeline to timeline by using the power of his mind. With that being said, this, I I've been seeing when I go on social media online a lot of weird things that connotes that you ain't in your timeline, just weird shit I've never heard of, never seen. Dystopian timelines, a lot of them. But anyways, with that being said, them motherfuckers, Mexicans and all of them, this is why they worship white folks. They directly under Quetzalcoatl. That's their demiurge, who would shapeshift into a white man. That's why when Cortez, went over there, they thought that's Quetzalcoatl return. That's their god. So I'm not moved by all that black and brown shit in the way. I got too much to be hating motherfuckers, but I hate everybody, really. But I just call shit as I see it. That shit it pales in comparison to what I know and just the weight of what I gotta live with every single day. With that being said, I did an article talking about how to get rid of Santa Muerte, because that's some evil shit to be crowned by in the spirit plane. I felt I was shown some of them road spirits how it feels to be crowned by, and that shit's no joke. Very momentarily. With that being said, I don't need this shit. She's a Topa thought form, which, look, I'm gonna say it right now, and now I understand. I got sacrificed by Baron Samedi when I was a teen, but it was actually done to save me from what Satan had in store. I'm more of a Satanist, but I was told, it's a good thing I was crowned by him at birth. Say, through the magic band at my incarnation, anything is possible. This shit fading like a motherfucker. Anyways, with that being said, I would have been straight direct pulled into a hell realm because I was 16 at the time and I wanted to do something like the butterfly effect, go back in time and go back to De La Salle, which from what I understand was a major turning point. Going to Xavier Prep meant these timelines, hell and material problems, but spiritual knowledge, kind of like with Horus. Got the Eye of Horus there and going through hell. I should get something, pertaining to the Eye of Ra for protection, spiritual protection. I'm going to look into that in the future. Pharaohs, by the way, if you ever have a problem putting yourself spiritually together, Pharaoh, along with the all-seeing eye, the Eye of Wajet, they call it, the Eye of Ra, are very good. We have them as entity attachments within us, are very good for putting you back together. So with that being said, get yourself that if you ever have problems spiritually putting yourself back together. With that being said, the problem with Santa Muerte is she a thought form. This is why I mentioned Baron Samedi. When I was under him, I'd rather go back to them days than where I'm at right now, but I was a shell of myself. But he was my higher to highest self, and he can act autonomously because he actually existed. He has his own consciousness. Santa Muerte was the brainchild of cartel members who wanted to flounce, facing, going to hell realms and facing the fate for the shit that they do, the evil deeds that they do. So they created her. She's an invention of them. with that being said, she was created as their own personal deity to get around. I don't want to say karma, because karma is something totally different, as I learned from this curse. And as I was saying before, where, it's kind of like, for instance, because I was poor and I'm going through the shit that I'm going through in this life, I might come back wealthy in the next from what I was shown, in terms of timelines and shit. Same thing with my dad, because was a very humble man. Hopefully he can get there if he can stay alive in this evil shit. I had that wetback Maria Tavares trying to take him out of existence using the Illuminati entity attachment. That's just some evil shit. Use 694 or 695 or C or your third eye. Because he was a humble man and a very nice, gentle man, he's going to come back, or he is, or hopefully still is, slated to come back as an African warlord. It's all about checks and balances, just like what that movie that Tom Cruise was in back in the day, Legend, which talks about without, you have no good without evil, and vice versa. So with that being said, she was created as a private deity to get around that. And then at some point started crowning the Mexican and all of that oversoul consciousness. And from what I was told and saw, I saw their creator guides. From what I understand, let's call all that shit, the evil spirits that come from Betelgeuse or something. It starts with an S minor in the star constellation. They had like a major planet war, world war, that drove them underground, and that's why they got the distorted, war pixelated face. It's kind of like how I self appear in the astral plane. That's why we all fucked up looking. Anytime you see that, that's a sign of an evil spirit, or a spirit stuck in hell realms. You can use 125 hertz, 1185 hertz to pull them out. 156 hertz to free people from spirit jars. With that being said, them people came over here and created them and were manipulating them right along with the reptilians. That's why them people make, great industrious workers, but not smart. They created them to work hard and hard and hard, kind of like hamsters on a treadmill, so they can get what Kaninigan, your boy on YouTube, talked about reptilians back in the day. Back when this shit wasn't going on with me, Loosh from Energy. And they're so evil, they're not even allowed in the spirit world to collect them people when they die. Our ancestral creator spirits, Ra, Anubis, predecessors, blueprint for everybody. Well, I don't want to say the Mesopotamians, Pazuzu, and all that separate. It's one of my ancestors. They can, and he's been the one that was instrumental in helping me out the most. With that being said, they can come and collect my ass. Collect your ass. Thor, all of them. They can collect your ass. Them motherfuckers can't do that. Because they evil. Evil motherfuckers. With that being said, Santa Muerte the only one. And as I saw Baron Samedi say, that's the most evil shit, because he saw a 2-year-old child trapped in the hell realm and shit. She can come through, not really her, but people's higher to highest selves acting as her, because that's how she gets her meat. Her consciousness, that's how she exists. She uses the Mexican oversoul consciousness to exist. She don't, like a Baron Samedi, have her own independent consciousness. And I talked about it here a long time ago. I can't believe how accurate I was with Saint and all of that. Very dark shit that them people are under. They can come and collect them motherfuckers. She can just, through them, through arbitrary wonton for whatever reason, like a rape victim who wanted to report a rapist, ancestors using Santa Muerte, Really the Mexican oversoul consciousness came in, snatched out her consciousness in the middle of the night. She unravels like what happened with me, your consciousness, so she can get you. Along with what's happening with me as well, soul conscious. She can come in and get you, and that's how that happens. With that being said, yeah, correcting shit. This is just too much. That's some scary shit to deal with. And that's why you don't want to deal with her. See an eye right there. Strangely. I'll be painting on my thing. Anyway, she can come and snatch your ass up. We ain't got that to worry about. She tried to do that with me. I fucked her ass up. She tried doing that with my people, my family, and all of that. And they couldn't shut it down. She envelops you kind of like that film Phantoms in that primordial darkness. But I'm gonna say this right now. To defeat her, get yourself black tourmaline to protect yourself from her, because that's some evil shit to be under, along with frankincense and myrrh. You know, again, you don't want to be under that because it's people's higher selves who, for whatever reason, out of jealousy and shit, may have a grudge with you. That's why them people kind of antagonistic can fuck you up. And you don't want that. So I did an article talking about why she needs to be removed from their oversoul consciousness. And from what I understand, going back to the August 22nd, 2022 timeline, it was done. And them people, it was like light just came right in and they never felt better. You can actually petition God, Yoda Baal. I know it's really not mind saying, to get her removed from the Mexican oversoul consciousness. With that being said, you don't want to deal with that. That's why I'm happy and proud of my black magic. I've had these people try to fuck with my soul consciousness to steal that. You know, still bearing Samities. Use that against them to fuck with them, and it's the most evil ass shit. You know, and I saw it in them blog years ago. So anyways, you know, I was happy to write that article because having that shit out of here. Like shit. trapped in this bitch. Yeah, build you up. I understand logically the reason behind it is just it's frustrated. I'm nearly reading that right now and got to. I got the devil right here. So with that being said, so we gotta be done about this shit. You got the Queen of Swords right there that just pumped up. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and do the card reading and call it a day. So, in the obstacle position, you got the Knight of Wands. And I feel that that connotes to you rushing in while deep contemplation into a situation, Queen of Wands. You have the power, but you got somebody lording over you who shouldn't have your power, who shouldn't rule over you. And you should be able to usurp them. Page of Swords, future position. That was your present. You're going to come across somebody that's going to be a major block and a hindrance, and you can just walk their ass right out. Devil, subconscious. Some telling you not to give a fuck about something, but some telling you to make the right decision, but make sure it is the right decision. Judgment, goals. I believe that in the way you're going through a test, you're going through something, and you will make it out clearly. You know, last night, felt like I had been somebody protect me when she was trying to fuck with my ass. Seven of Cups. Advice card. I feel that something is telling you to be smart in your decision making and what you choose to do and go with the right thing. Six of Cups, that's the energy that circumvents you. And I feel that you're surrounded by a lot of love, a lot of friends, and a lot of people want to help. Five of Pentacles. You fear shit not going in the right direction, not going the right way. Outcome, Three of Swords. You're going to gain something, but you're going to endure loss. With that being said, if you want a more personalized reading, please contact me at ravenbyterror22@yahoo.com. Peace.